Hey guys, welcome to Midwest Paratalk Radio. I'm the G-Man, that is Deb, and welcome to another Thursday night here on the Midwest Paratalk Radio Network.
Maggie says, "What are you guys going to talk about tonight?" I said, "It's hard telling."
Yeah, it's hard telling not knowing, but
Yeah. Heidi
but
ho,
I
everybody.
hide the hole, everybody. Wait,
Oh, I
what?
said Heidi ho. Oh,
Oh,
come on.
I'm
I know you're old enough to know
woo.
that.
I am. Oh, I took. Speaking of being old, there was something like on some video I was watching where they were playing songs from X date. If you remember these songs, you're older than dirt was the title of it. I knew all of them. Son of a bitch, I'm old,
Oh, I know all that stuff too.
man.
I'm like dial tone old. You know what that means?
Right? Yeah, fuck yeah, you use a dial tone to call somebody. Hell yeah, I remember party lines. I remember picking
At
up the
busy
phone to
signals.
use.
Whenever
Yeah,
somebody was on the phone, you couldn't leave it. There was no such thing as voice message. You got a busy signal and you had to call back. And then when you
right,
really wanted to talk to somebody, you'd be dialing that phone 800 times until they finally hung up.
right, right. Don't
Or
try to
you,
call into a radio station and try to win a
oh
fucking
no,
contest or something.
no, yeah. You were, it's like, this was even before the punch, the touchstone. This was the ringer dial,
Right? Where
try
you
to
had to take that
speed it.
nine all the way
Yep.
around.
And the O was even worse.
God forbid it had a zero in it.
I know. Forget it, man.
Do you
And if you
remember
had
your
fingernails,
childhood?
you're done.
Right? You remember your childhood phone number?
I actually do. Fleetwood
Yeah.
93460. Man, I don't even remember all of my kids' phone numbers or my best friend's phone numbers. I didn't even remember my own house number when we got that VoIP line from Verizon,
Yeah.
which we
Yeah.
never used. But I remember the phone number. I think it's because it banged into my head school in first grade, and even in kindergarten. That's one of the first things that they teach you: your name, your address, and your telephone number. And I guess it's in case you ever get lost, you can tell the police.
Right. Yeah. This is my phone number. I
And mine
remember.
started out with two letters: Fleetwood 93460, which is the equivalent of 359-3460. But we said
Right.
Fleetwood.
Yeah. See, now you're older than I am. So
Yeah.
we only use the digits and way back in the day for these kids that don't know, you only had to dial the actual number. You didn't have to put the area code in when you
Uh-uh.
dialed.
Nope.
And but I remember my old phone number. I remember my old street address, the school I went to. I
Yeah, I don't
mean,
remember all the addresses between the first one and now.
right. Yeah, yeah,
Like when you
yeah.
go to get credit, you go, "Did you live at this address?" Well, I don't know. Maybe it looked kind of familiar, but I'm not sure.
Right,
But
yeah.
ask me where I lived in 1959 and I can tell you.
Right, right. Yeah, I was I remember too, this was before all the serial killer kidnapping things went on back in the mid 70s. When all that really started getting hype, where they started teaching you stranger danger,
Stranger danger. Yeah.
right? And had Officer Friendly would come to the schools and you'd glue together a little paper walkie-talkie and have a little paper badge and whatnot. But I remember some dude in a big old white Cadillac. All his kids were rolling up the street on our bicycles, and the old man stopped and was asking for directions. And we was like, "Yeah, you go up." And we're standing right at the door of the car, and got a quarter out of it and went home and said, "Hey, I got a quarter for telling the guy directions." And mom was just flipped. She's like, "You don't ever go up to somebody's car." Rah, rah, rah. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude gave me a quarter, man. I was just rolling, and there he was, and I got me a quarter. I'm gonna go get some bubble gum.
Okay, so we were discussing earlier before we came on live what we were going to talk about. So we don't have a guest tonight. It's just me and Greg. It's like old times when we used to shoot the doo-doo for an hour or so, good times. But I there's a couple things I want to talk about, a couple things Greg wanted to talk about, but I just want to say I'm so glad we're back here doing this again. And boy, the uh, the environment is so much different than it was the first time what I was trying to think the other day. Did we we just figured out a way to record the two of us on Skype? because we didn't have video in the beginning. Remember, it was just
Right.
audio because we were purely radio.
Right. Back in the day when we were doing it, we used Skype as a medium, but I used Audacity and I recorded the podcast.
Yeah,
But we were live as well. So I had a radio encoder. That's when encoders really started coming
that's
onto the
why you
scene.
had that. Yeah, but
And
there
I
was
used the
hardly
encoder.
any. There were hardly any. There were very few like paranormal podcasts back then. I mean, there was some. Don't get me wrong. It
Um,
wasn't like a desert, you know, but there. It's just like bombarded with them now. Everybody has their podcast. Everybody, and it's like, wow, this landscape has really changed over the years.
well, there were, I think, three, and I don't want to necessarily call them rival networks at the time. When I first started, I started off with with ASPRN with Mike and Chris from Crossroads Paranormal, and he started a radio network, and I started off with him, and that was early 2000s. Um, and then he decided he didn't want to do it anymore, and that's when I started ParaQuest Radio Network and did NPR um, with Joni at first and her
Yeah.
brother,
Yep.
and the thing with the paranormal radio shows back then, you had three networks. You had Parax, you had Jackalope Radio, and you had PQRM. And there was a lot of poaching going on. There's probably about 20, 25 different paranormal podcasts at the time. So truth be told, we are the OGs of paranormal radio,
We are OG.
right? So
And I love that our call sign was PQRN and it looked like
looked like
porn. It
porn,
looked like the word porn until you look
right?
real close.
Right. And
Real classy, right? Yeah.
right, yeah, it was. I mean, we were young. I was young and dumb back then. The
Uh,
skulls and the
mm,
flames and all that, and
yeah. But that's
that's
what everybody was, that's what all
yeah,
the paranormal ones were looked like back then.
yeah. That was very reminiscent of everyone else.
Yeah.
You know, go us, be original.
Yeah.
Um, but there was a lot of show poaching going on. There at the end when I decided to kind of, well, it was when you and I first started this show, we had known each other for a couple years anyway. And my co-host at the time, I had a falling out with the guy that ran Jackalope Radio, and it was stupid. One of his shows were tired of his bull, wanted to come over to us, and I was like, I don't care, clear it with him. And came to me and they're like, okay, yeah, everything is cool. Well, they didn't clear it with him, and it caused this big ripple effect to go on. And the co-host I had at the time was just like, well, I quit. And I'm like, well, yeah,
Bye.
don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. She's the thing was, and Joni was her name. Joni was a good person. She really was. She was blinded by all that bullshit that was going on. And I've never been one for bullshit.
Mm,
I think that's why Deb and we get along so well together is that, I mean, I think we're cut from the same cloth. I'm not going to sugarcoat the shit for you. This is how it is. If you don't like it, I'm sorry your little feelings are hurt, but that's what it is. So, then I talked to you, and then you and I started running with the show, and we had a bunch of shows up until about 2016.
yeah.
And I'd moved down to Georgia 2015, and let me tell you folks, that was a shit show too. It was a learning experience, and I'm glad that we did do that. Georgia was beautiful. The people that were down there with us were not, and that's why we moved back. So
And at the same time, I got bumped to second shift, which
Right.
really threw a monkey wrench in my plans of having a
Yeah.
nighttime podcast of any kind or radio show.
Right. Yeah. And
You
that
know,
and that
so
was tough because we had to try to figure out the logistics of the whole thing, which obviously we failed for 8 years.
yeah, we ended up just saying, "Oh, we can't do this. It's too much. Life, is
Yeah.
too much right now." But I'm so glad life has, brought us back into each other's lives and our paths have crossed
Right.
again. So, and so
It's
here we
the
are.
circle of life.
He's Greg's back in Indiana and
Yep.
I am retired. So no more night shift for me. And
Great.
the whole the whole
It is. It is
everything
for
is,
the
but yeah, because a lot of people their podcasts are monetized, so they're making money on this shit now. We're
they
not there
are.
yet. Maybe someday we will be, but we're not there yet. We're just doing this
Right.
right now because we love it. But I mean, look how slick StreamYard is. God, would we have given to had something like this 10 years ago?
Oh hell yeah.
Shoot, it makes
Oh
things so
yeah.
much that this is why
But see,
everybody has a podcast now because it's so easy
yeah,
now.
because it's so
It
easy
was
to do. See,
not easy. Greg had a pile of shit he had to do just to get us on the air with all kinds of
yeah,
equipment that he had to pay for. It wasn't cheap.
right.
So,
Yeah. And that was the thing. See, all the old school OGers that were doing these podcasts back in the day, we
mhm.
had to do this by hand. I mean, we didn't have to, I mean, some guys coded stuff, but I'm no programmer, so I don't code. But I had to figure out workarounds to all of that.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean,
You would
it took
think it's so
it took
easy, you think ours would be I'm just kidding. No, if everybody's noticed, if you've come back with us since the beginning, every week we have a different background or a new song, or I mean,
right.
we're finding our we're finding our thing this time round.
Right. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
we're changing. We're under construction, I guess it would be a good way to put it.
Right. Well, I mean,
I'm
I
liking this new stuff you've done here in the last few shows, I must say.
thanks. I
Yeah, it's
appreciate
all
that. Yeah.
Greg. It's all Greg doing that because I'm not that technically
Well, I mean, it's a
inclined.
collaboration. I mean, it's not just me. I mean, we've said on the last couple of shows, well, he's the owner. He can. We're the owner. I don't do anything radio related without asking you about it and what you think, and we collab on it,
That's
and
true.
that's why I think it works well for us. Because a lot of these guys, and I'm not trying to ruffle feathers and make anybody mad, but a lot of these guys are divas when it comes to know all be alls. And I mean, come on, if you're not on a team, what do they say? There's no I in team.
Yeah. I mean, if you're
There's
gonna
not.
do that, just do your own. Don't have
Yeah,
to, partner or whatever.
right.
I like
And let me
working with
tell
the
you,
team. I like working with a partner. I mean, I
right,
can do it myself if I feel inclined to do, but I like working with it. Two heads are always
hmm
better than one if you ask me.
oh yeah, I agree totally. And doing, I mean, and people think, oh, I'll do a podcast. It's not that big of a deal. I did a single show, after all that crap went down, I went on my own for maybe a month and a half. And doing a show by yourself is probably one of the most difficult things creatively to do, especially trying to captivate and reach and touch your audience because you don't have anyone to banter off of.
Mhm.
So you could tell a joke and you'd be the only one laughing at it. What what what?
Yeah,
You
I
know?
mean, we're funny. I mean, uh, sometimes we don't. Sometimes I don't mean to be, but I am. You know what I mean? But I think that if you make something fun, as fun as you can, sometimes the material that you're talking about, it's just there's nothing funny about it.
Right,
But
right.
when you have those moments that you can, I think that it helps people to connect,
Oh yeah.
and you know what
Yeah.
I mean. Keeps their interest too, because
It's
man,
relatable.
damn, I can get boring. Ain't nothing more boring than hearing some old lady blather on for 20 or 30 minutes about the same shit. It's like, lady, are you done yet?
Right.
I got it.
It's like, Jesus, won't you shut the hell up?
I mean, I'm so glad. I'm really tickled to be back here doing this with you, though. And I just wanted to just take a minute to acknowledge that and to let people know, you know, how different it is,
Yeah.
than it was back in the day, and
Yeah, like you
hopefully,
said, eh,
we'll be here for a long time, God
right.
willing.
And that's the thing with all the changes that we've got going on and all the stuff that we're kind of working on, even in the background, which might not seem like a lot, but it really is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, we're working on longevity, and I think that's important, especially for this genre of podcast. It's hard for it's hard. I don't want to even say competitive, but it's hard to be intriguing with the stuff that you're putting out
Yeah.
with it being saturated as much as it is.
And that's it, saturated. I mean, it's everywhere. And
Mhm.
there's some really, really good podcasts out there, and there's some really good information out there, some good
Yeah.
people that are doing really good work, that's necessary.
Mhm.
Um, and I think our work is necessary too. I mean, we're bringing elements of ufology and experiencer, uh, you know, contact
Mhm. Mhm.
and paranormal folks
Mhm.
with all the different genres in that. We're trying to bring a little bit of all that together
Right.
because it really is connected in
Mhm.
some way. And we find that a lot of people who have paranormal experiences or who have uh, gifts, I guess, or I think we all have it, but who have tuned in on theirs and are, like mediums and stuff like that, healers, shaman, whatever you want to call
Mhm.
it. I think they're all, a lot of them have had strange sightings, UFO experiences and stuff too, and vice
Mhm.
versa. A lot of
Oh
people
yeah.
that have had experiences like mine who've had, contact or had UFO contact or extraterrestrial or extra-dimensional contact, if you want to call it that, or whatever it might be, time travelers, just, any kind of contact. We find that we have um, gifts, I guess, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, like myself, you know, uh, in the beginning of my youth and things were more physical and very scary. And as I got older, the physical aspect of contact kind of dropped to the wayside, but something else began to happen that was more intellectual or metaphysical, if you
Right.
will.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? And
Yeah.
spiritual, even, which that's a word that really scares the shit out of all those uh, nuts and bolts people at MUFON and science, or it used to anyway. Now I'm being schooled that MUFON's not as hard nosed about that as they used to be, which is
Uh,
good.
right, yeah.
But yeah, Maggie's making. Wait a minute, there. I
There
did
it
it.
is.
Woo-hoo. We're
Look at
learning, Maggie.
that.
Yes, I did that. Oh, Maggie, that's such a pretty picture too. Hoo-wee. But anyway, yes, uh, I don't think Bud or Stan or John would uh, like some of the things that's happening now. But I
Mhm.
also I can I can speak a little bit more for Bud than I can the other two men. I met both the other two men. Uh, I actually met Stan Freeman several times. He's a cool guy, but yeah,
What is this?
Bud had a real hard time with some of the weirder stuff, as if like having a pregnancy disappear wasn't weird enough. Uh,
Right, yeah, yeah.
but there was documentation with that. You know what I mean? There were medical exams pre and after, and also, a whole bunch of women were reporting the same thing at that time. But then um, the psychological changes and the spiritual, emotional changes. I think it was a little bit harder for him. I know that when he read my manuscript for Abducted, the book that my sister and I wrote, some of the things that I wrote in the end, at the last part of that book, I know in my heart that he cringed when he read that, but he still wrote a beautiful foreword to it, asking people just to read it with an open mind. And he read it with an open mind, and he tried, I always said that Bud was in the emergency room of the whole phenomenon. Okay. Because when he saw people, they were like I was, they're wrecked. They were having nervous breakdowns. They were disasters on wheels, and they were reaching out to him like I reached out to him for help. Just wanted to have a normal life. Somebody tell me this was going to be okay. Even like when I told the psychiatrist at the hospital he took me to, it's okay if you tell me I'm crazy because they make pills for that, and I'd be glad to take them. Because all I want to do, I was a single mom with 2 little boys that I was going to have to raise. And I needed to figure out what I was going to do with my life, how I was going to support these boys. The last thing I needed to be was in a round room with a rubber mat and a straitjacket, because I just not had time for that shit. I had, and I reached out to him for help, and he did help me quite a bit. Even though he was just an artist. The beauty of him was that even though he was an artist, he was a very intelligent and compassionate man. And he reached out to the professionals for advice and help. He didn't just take it upon himself like, oh, I can do this and I know that. He had all kind of professional people helping him help me. And
he had the contacts.
Yeah, but he was seeing everybody in the beginning stages of their contact. And most people were like me and were a hot mess trying to figure out how to live with it, and having physical effects. I was having a lot of physical problems from it as well, which he saw.
To this day, you're still having physical problems.
I'm still, I should leave my body to science, honestly, because I'm sure there's some fuckery going on in there they ain't nobody seen and won't be able to see till they gut me like a fish. I'm just saying.
Right. Yeah.
Excuse my French, but he owns the place, so I can do that once in a while. But anyway, so it's so much different now. There's so many. I sit back and keep my mouth pretty much shut. I don't even go out and speak a whole lot, maybe once a year, or maybe not once every 2 or 3 years. This last year, I actually went to 2 places, which is amazing for me to go 2 places in 1 year and speak. But I pretty much kept by the sidelines and just watched, because I've seen some crazy shit out here lately. But I've also seen a lot of good stuff, changes in ufology, that I didn't think I'd see in my lifetime, with this, even though UFO stuff coming out of the government right now is like a slow drip, it's more changes I've seen more changes in the last 4 years than I saw in the last 40 before that, or 35, so it's encouraging, even though sometimes it's frustrating,
right?
Because I think maybe I might actually live to see it. I might not croak before this happens, but it's just so. And then there's all different kinds of podcasts, and there's a lot of people out there, I think, that are like you said, they just want to be. They want to be the one to break the big story. They want to have the one to do this first or do that first,
right.
Or, and it's like, so I just sit back and watch. Oh, I do want to tell you, I found somebody. You remember I told you I had soil samples that I kept for 40 years? I sure did. When I dug up a bunch of soil samples for Bud, something inside of me said, get you some and keep them, because they might mean something someday. And even if they don't, you got soil samples of the mark in the yard from the book Intruders.
Right.
Even if it doesn't show anything anymore, the fact that that's where it came from might mean something to somebody, and definitely wanted to have some for my family legacy, my grandkids. And
Yeah.
anyway, I found someone to look at them. I did I think it's called UAP Med. I did a interview with them, and a man saw that and reached out to me. His name is Errol Farouk, and he was one of the original scientists that looked at the Delphos, Kansas case back in the 70s, which
Okay.
was quite similar to ours in many ways. And it was a trace landing case that left a mark and everything. And he studied the soil and the plants of that.
Mm-hmm.
And he reached out to me, and he's going to look at my soil samples. And granted, they're 40 years old, and it may be a day late and a dollar short, but
Yeah,
at
I
least
mean,
I can say I did it. Somebody's looking
yeah.
at it. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And
yeah.
if nothing comes of it, nothing comes of it. But at least I tried.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited. I was happy to make his acquaintance, via email, and we'll see
Mm-hmm.
what goes on from that. And he has promised me that whatever he finds, he is going to be open and forthright with and share it with everyone, anybody that,
Right.
it's not one of these sneaky deal things. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You got to be careful of that sneaky back
sneaky
alley
snake.
Sally
But
stuff.
I was excited about that. I wanted to tell
Hell
you
yeah.
about that. And I do.
That is
And before I stop talking, I just want to say you've been having some weird stuff happen lately, and you took a couple pretty cool pictures of some shit that was over your house. And
right.
it's been a bizarre couple of days here. I posted on my Facebook page and the Zero Midwest, the Zero Midwest Experience Your Support Group page. I posted on there too. That the police scanner, Kokomo Police Scanner Facebook page had a report of multiple lights flickering, people reporting explosions, 4 explosions over the town, and their lights either going out completely or flickering. And then I like stoplights. And this one stoplight right down here from me at Markland and 31, all 4 sides went to red. And and the state or city or state or whoever manages them, because US 31 is a US thoroughfare.
Major.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was the state that comes in and does that or the city, but they had to come out and reset those. And they were talking about that. And then people were like, well, I live in Sharpsville and we had the same thing. Well, I live in Frankton. Well, hell, that's 35 minutes south of me. I live in
Right.
Peru. That's up north by Grissom Air Base. One
Mm-hmm.
person posted that on my Facebook page. She's like, what the hell just happened? She lives in Michigan, way up
Mm-hmm.
north, couple 3 hours from us. And then another gal mentions, oh my goodness, I have a friend that lives in Alabama, and they told me that they heard 2 explosions and their lights flickered right at the same time. And then I get a private message from a friend who lives in Tasmania, and they have had explosion sounds, terrific storms, and their power was, she said her whole street was out, and they didn't know what was causing that. And I'm thinking, I've had 2 interesting lucid dreams in the last week that I felt kind of weird, like spacey, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then my stomach was jacked up, and I mean, just it's just been a weird ass week. Feels like something's going on, that something's up. And my husband even noted that we live 18 miles due south of Grissom Air Base.
Mm-hmm.
And he's right. I noticed it too. We've had an increase in air traffic from the base, which the base is supposed to be like inactive, but they sure got some shit flying around in the air to be inactive.
Right.
Out of
Yeah.
the helicopter,
Mm-hmm.
the helicopters and the big airplane, like the big refueling plane and some smaller
Yeah.
planes. We've had a lot of air traffic over our house in the last couple of weeks. I don't know what's going on, but it feels my energy feels like my spidey senses are turned on. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And then, so I just wanted to kind of throw that out there in case anybody else is listening and they're having weird shit happening right now. It just feels like a weird time. It just feels like there's something going on under the layer that we can't see, that
Yeah.
people like me maybe can feel it. I feel something.
Well, I took that picture of whatever it was above my house, what, early November,
Mm-hmm.
and I sent you that picture today of it. Where the hell was it? It was a MUFON picture from. Oh, let me scroll up here and find it. From Brentwood. So I'm assuming that it doesn't look like Brentwood, California, because it looks rural. So is there like a Brentwood, Tennessee, or
Yeah.
Brentwood,
My
Kentucky?
Oh, I know there's a Brentwood, Tennessee, because my late friend Angelia used to live there. It's like
Okay,
a
so
suburb of Nashville,
okay, because
a
this
ritzy suburb of Nashville.
uh this looks more rural,
Okay.
but the picture that I sent you is almost identical to what I saw above my house.
Yeah. Well, you took a picture of it too.
Yeah, yeah, I did. I wonder if I can.
Yeah, I was going to say, can you pop it up here and share it with our listeners? My
Yeah,
butt
let me
hurts.
dig.
my hips hurt. I swear to God, getting old ain't for the faint-hearted. Jesus.
It is not.
I bought me one
I
of these big ass foam things to sit on, sit here because of my butt. It
you
feels like
bought
a little,
you.
my bone, feels like my hip bones are like stabbing in the chair. And I have smashed this cushion down. Now I need to buy a new one. It's supposed to be
You
memory
just
foam, but it forgot to get back up after I sat on it.
your your hemorrhoid
It ain't hemorrhoids.
pillow,
It's like old lady hiproids. I don't
old lady hemorrhoids.
I don't know.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Where in the hell did this download to?
Come on, you can find it. I know you can.
I can do it. There we go. All right, hold on.
Hey
I'll give
Maggie,
it
I
a.
just saw your comment, Maggie. Thank you so much. I love all of you guys. I love y'all, all you my California peoples. I love them so much.
Like a fat kid loves cake.
Shoot, man. I mean, they've been there for me. I mean, all the way out in Cali, they've been there for me for 25 years. I love them all to death.
Where did we put
They made me
these?
feel like I wasn't alone out here in the middle of nowhere in Cornsville.
Right.
There's more than corn in Indiana. There's UFOs and Bigfoots and
Man,
weirdos.
the thing is, oh, and we got a Bigfoot
Oh yeah, we're gonna
research team coming on
on
the
January the
11th of
11th.
January. Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. We're going to talk to a Bigfoot research team.
Bro,
I don't
dude,
know. You're on that because I don't know very much about Bigfoot. I don't even know what kind of questions to ask. So
they sent over a media pack. I'll make sure that you get it, but it doesn't say a whole lot. It just basically gives their backgrounds.
where are they
But I mean,
located at?
huh?
For real.
That they from that one place.
You sound like Fry Man. You ever watch do you ever watch Aqua Teen Hunger Force?
No. Oh,
Meatwad's
okay.
my
Yeah, yeah.
favorite. Is Meatwad, Frylock, and Shake.
Well, I mean,
I'm a 65-year-old woman, and I know what Aqua Teen Hunger Force is. For God's sake.
yeah, but you're retired, so
I'm
you
special.
can find nice little things to watch on TV. Okay.
Okay.
This picture that I'm going to show now is what I took above my house early November. Oh, did I put it in backgrounds? Where in the hell did we put these? In video clips?
Hold on, let me look. Nope. in
I swear we're not slow people. I promise.
damn that little fly. Get the hell away from me. Yeah, I think it's in didn't we put them in? Maybe it was no, it wasn't video clip. Overlay? No. Maybe it was overlay. Try that.
I'll try anything at this point.
We are just oh, wait a minute. Present. I'm gonna
Yeah,
click
that's
on
what I'll do.
what present.
Yeah.
Click on that. We're learning, you guys. Hang in there with us. One of these days, we're going to be slick and sparkly, but it ain't today.
Upload file. That's the ticket. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
I gotta figure it out. Oh no, yeah, I do.
Maybe.
Son of a biscuit. Maybe this. Let's try this. But it was just weird because, like I said, it's this picture from Brentwood is very reminiscent.
I'm pretty sure. Put it in overlay.
Put it in overlay.
Yeah, put it in overlay.
Mm-hmm.
Now click on it.
Weather outside is frightful. All right, here we go. There it is. Okay. Now this picture right here. Yep, it is overlay. You're absolutely right. All right, this picture right here that I'm showing you is from MUFON in Brentwood, and I'm assuming Brentwood is. I mean, it looks rural. It doesn't look like Tennessee. I mean, it might be Tennessee, but I don't know wherever this Brentwood is. But that is what they were showing. Mm-hmm. Now take a good look at that, and then I'm going to show you what I took. It splits us. That's awesome. That's what cool. That's what I took above my house. Now, the weird thing, it might not see. I think Brentwood, California, is more suburb than it is urban. But the thing with this picture that I explained to Deb as well is that you can see the saucer shape, and then you see the light on the front end of it, or this side of it. The thing was, and I'm pointing my camera to the east just for perspective. This ship or this thing, this UFO, was going north to south. But it's very reminiscent of what the MUFON folks in Brentwood captured as well.
Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to Google it up, but I ain't finding it. So
yeah, I don't know. But I mean, it's not just that. I mean, the same night I saw what looked to me like a meteor come out of the sky. I was leaving the BIPS location, the Boonville, Indiana Paranormal Society location. We had a meeting, and it shot straight out of the sky, straight down into the treetops. There was no explosion. There was no light after that point. I mean, it was just, it went into the trees and it was gone. I thought, that's okay, wild. that was pretty interesting. And then I get home and I take a picture of that. But I mean, it's not just when you say you heard the explosion, right? Did it sound like a shotgun being fired? Because you know the difference between an explosion and the 12 gauge. Yeah.
Oh, yes, you already know. I know exactly what a 12 gauge sounds like. And no, what I heard was, and it wasn't a sonic boom either.
Right.
It was because a sonic boom is always like a double sound to me. It's like a ba-boom when I hear a sonic boom, ba-boom. But this is like a boom, you know what I mean?
Okay.
It's like a total explosion.
We were sitting here last night and I heard what sounded like a shotgun go off. And of course the dogs flip out, they lose their
Yeah.
minds. There's nothing around the house. I mean, we're pretty secluded where we are.
Uh-huh.
But we're the interstate, it's my driveway, then about 30 foot, then there's a tree line, and then about 50 foot, and there's the interstate, or I guess freeway.
Hmm.
Um,
So did you wonder if it was like a backfiring car or something?
it was too loud for that.
Was it too loud?
It was too loud, and it had a different sound to it. It really sounded like a shotgun or something of that effect. I mean, it was enough for me to get up and look out the windows, and
Mm-hmm.
there's some yahoo on the property trying to shoot a shotgun. We were going to have some problems.
Well, and there's a
Um,
big meteor shower happening right now, and we
Mhm.
had just had big solar flares,
Right.
shooting at X-class flares or something. I don't know. Haven't didn't look at it too closely. I was following it on this one Mr. MMMB's website. He follows stuff like that on his
Mhm.
YouTube videos. But
Mhm.
and he's really good for stuff like that. He watches the cauldron in Yosemite or wherever,
Oh yeah.
uh, and he watches earthquakes. He keeps track of earthquakes and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And he, weather pictures. You know me, I'm all about weather and weather pictures. I'm my wannabe meteorologist, but uh, you know, like it, we're having these big. I don't know if I know that meteors can be huge and they can rattle windows if they're and make a noise and whatnot. Uh, but I don't know that they can knock the power out in a whole city.
Right.
Now, on the flip side, solar activity has the potential if it's bad enough. And we kind
Right.
of got a little bit of that going on too, So I don't know if it's just a conglomerate. And I've even wondered, am I having a physiological response or reaction, that's affecting me psychologically from the solar activity? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And not just me, but other humans on the planet as well. And
Right. Right.
no, I have not found. I haven't had any news. I haven't seen anything or heard anything about all the commotion that's been going on today in this region. I haven't seen. Nobody's talking about it.
Well,
No, which is even weirder. Even when the Kokomo boom happened, it was all over the news. I mean,
yeah. Yeah.
even got picked up nationally.
Mhm.
So, and a few people even commented, "Oh, it's like April, uh,
Yeah.
15th or
Yeah.
whatever date that was when the Kokomo boom happened." Only this was bigger. This was
Mhm.
bigger. This was obvious, apparently from like Michigan to Alabama
But
and
Michigan to
and
Australia.
yeah, Tasmania, and for most people said they heard 2 or 4 explosions depending on where they were. And the weird part is the people were reporting hearing these explosions and their houses shaking and their lights flickering and all that shit all around me. All the neighborhoods right across from me and right behind
Mhm.
me and just south. I was here all day. I didn't hear nothing. I didn't
Yeah.
see nothing. It's like I walked around in a bubble.
Mhm.
Or was I even here? It was so weird. I woke up and I had changed the picture on my phone for Christmas, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I changed my picture on my phone, my lock screen and all that shit. And I got up the next morning, yesterday morning, and my lock screen was back to the old picture. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Right.
What are you doing, Apple? Trying to make me feel crazy? There was something else that happened too that was different than yesterday. And I remember thinking, and I can't, God, this is insane. I can't even remember what it was now. But I remember thinking, am I in the same timeline as I
Mhm.
was yesterday? What's going on? Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
I mean, because there was two things: my phone lock screen and something else. Hell was it? Oh, and you know, like I was telling you earlier, yesterday my cat was fine. My cat is 17 years old. I mean, he's getting older. You know, he's got issues, and we know he's going to pass soon. But he's not suffering. He's happy. He eats like a pig. He's going to the bathroom normally. He doesn't appear to be in any pain. But today, it's like he doesn't know where he's at. You know, he's acting weird and sitting in strange places, staring at the wall. And I know he's going to go to sleep in the next couple days and not wake up.
Right.
And God love him. It's, you know, like I said, he's 17, almost 18 years old, maybe older. We're not exactly sure. He's the last. Yeah. He's the last of the animals that went through the tornado with us. So he's got 3 brothers and sisters up there waiting for him. But it's like, he wasn't like that yesterday. I mean, he was old and crispy, but I mean, he wasn't like that. I mean, just strange little things.
Yeah.
Are happening that are
I'm going to need you to
this.
quit jumping dimensions because you're fucking me all up.
I warned you about hanging out with me. Did I not warn you? I'm telling you, things have been strange, and I just feel like, just like I said earlier in the broadcast, I feel like there's something going on. I don't know that is there something going on with the world, or is it with me? There's something that's off. Something it's just off.
There's something going on in the world today.
And you know, I woke up. I told you I woke up. I have lucid dreams at the end of my sleep cycles occasionally. I always remember them. Almost always they're paranormal or UFO related, except for the time traveling or the like being in a different timeline ones. I've had those. But this one that I had, I think on December 4th, and now the one I had the other night, they're bizarre.
Yeah.
The one I woke up, I was really tired after I got done cleaning up dinner. And, you know, because it's like pitch ass black at 5:30 now, which sucks. Right. I went to lay down in bed, take a little quick nappy poo. I had to do something later at night, so I had to be fresh.
A little nappy nap.
Yeah. So I lay down and had the TV on, and I kind of dozed off. I was paying attention to the time because I had to do stuff later. But I kind of dozed off. And in the middle of this dozing off, I was awakened by somebody had me by my shoulders. They were at my head, even though my headboard is actually the window. It's up against the wall in the window. They were like standing behind me, and they had their arms wrapped around my shoulders real tight, like a vice grip, but not painful. And they were whispering. It was a man whispering something in my left ear, but he was speaking in a language that I couldn't understand. And then because when he first grabbed me, I thought, God damn it, Dave, let go of me, you stupid ass. Because I thought it was my husband coming in doing some shit, you know, pranking on me or something. And I was like, but I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even open my eyes. And then I'm like, what the hell is going on? That I hear this voice that's not Dave's speaking to me in some foreign language. And then all of a sudden the voice speaks to English, and he says, everything's going to be okay. And I'm like, what the hell, you know? And then I woke up, and I got up, and it was like I'd been asleep maybe 25 or 30 minutes. Dave was still sitting in the couch in the living room with his laptop and TV on like nothing. And, you know, I just walked around feeling kind of weird the rest of the night. Went to bed, woke up the next morning, and that left ear was full of blood. And when we got to cleaning it out and looking at it, I had a little scoop mark the size of a grain of sand, only circular. Like a rice, only circular, scooped right out of my ear, right there above the open canal. And I'm like, what the hell? And it didn't hurt at all. I couldn't. If I hadn't seen the blood, I would have never known it was there.
Yeah.
So And so that was bizarre. And I wrote it down and I
Mhm.
told some of my friends because I share all this stuff with my friends who will listen now, just,
Mhm.
for record purposes. Uh, and I write everything down because I'm getting old and I can't remember what I had for dinner last week. So don't ask me what I did 40 years ago unless I wrote it
Right.
down,
Yeah.
unless it was an imprint, like a
Uh-huh.
big thing that imprints on you.
Yeah.
Um, this dream that I had, um, the just yesterday, I believe. Let me get my notes because I'm old in hell. Okay. And I had this one right before I woke up. It didn't seem to be related to paranormal anything to me at the
Yeah.
time, but it was reminiscent of this just last one that I just had. And uh, in this dream, there was a man that was in my room. And I shared this with a couple of girlfriends that are experiencers at first to get their opinions on them, you know, just because I did. And I was kind of weird. I felt kind of weird about sharing it in public, but now I don't, I'm going to share it.
Right.
I don't know if it means anything or not, but I wasn't going to share it, but now with the weird stuff that's been happening today, I I don't know if there's some connection or not. The way maybe it's affecting my brain in some way, some kind of energy going on around me. I don't know. But
Right.
anyway, in this lucid dream, there was a man I was sitting on the edge of my bed, and there was a man on the edge of the bed with me, and he was hugging me. And I could tell by the way he hugged me that he was absolutely huge, just a huge big man, big arms, big strong arms, and I felt completely enveloped in his hug. But
Mhm.
I felt so safe and protected, in this hug. And he had a really long beard, like to his chest almost, but it was full. And I could see the beard, and it was a salt and pepperish kind of grayish color. It was real fluffy, like Santa Claus almost.
Right. Okay.
And it felt kind of scratchy, but yeah, it was real soft. It felt kind of real soft too. And I had my face kind of snuggled into it, and he was whispering again in some foreign language that I can't understand. And he was whispering to me, but whatever it was making me feel comfortable. And I
Mhm.
remembered his smell. He smelled like amber oil and leather. Yeah. And it was very comforting to me.
Okay.
And even the smell, as soon as I smelled it, I recognized it, and I felt at ease, comforted.
Mhm.
And I felt so loved and safe. And then I woke up. And when I woke up and I realized that it was just a dream, I about cried.
Yeah.
I about freaking cried when I realized it was a dream. And I'm like, God damn it. I want to go back to sleep. And I don't ever want to wake up. I just want to stay right like this. And I, it was so real. It felt
Mm.
so real, like I was there in 3D, in color and smell and touch, and everything was so real and vivid.
Mhm.
And like I said, when I woke up, I was like, what the fuck? Why did I have to wake up in here? And then so I felt all weirded out by it all day. And then later on, I started reading about all the explosions and the lights and everything acting weird. I'm like, what the hell
Yeah.
is happening? And I said, I can't figure out if this was some kind of extra dimensional contact, a memory of some past life, or a premonition of something that will be in the future. Or the overactive imagination of an old lady. I don't know. I don't know
Right.
what it was, but why I would do that.
Mhm.
It was so bizarre. And I don't know why in my mind, for some reason, I connect these two vivid dreams that I've had with what's happening around me.
Mhm. Right.
And it's almost like someone is trying to say, you know, it's going to be all right. So don't be afraid. It's the weirdest freaking thing. I don't know, but I just felt compelled to tell you about it. I've already, like
Right.
I said, I shared it with a couple of friends of mine, and
Well,
they were like, "Whoa, that's wild," and they had their opinions about what it could be also. So,
yeah, I mean, I can't even presume to
did you freeze or what?
oh, okay.
Okay, you froze, and now you're unfrozen. Are you okay?
I think so.
Uh, my
Okay,
vivid
so
dream must have freaked everybody out.
so let me try again. I mean, there's things going on that are just above the ordinary. And I realize that it's December, and just today I was telling Deb, and my dogs, what started it off, it was about 12:30, and I work till about 1:30 my time zone, and then I'm off work for the day. So I'm working and my dogs start flipping out at the window, and I'm like, oh, it's probably a delivery guy or whatever, and they wouldn't shut up. I mean, God love them, but you're killing me. So I get up and I go and I look out the window. My entire front yard, probably 30 yards from my front door out into the yard, there's a big evergreen. I mean, it's like way tall. It's taller than the house, but it's out in the middle by the driveway of the yard. And it was nothing but birds. There was, if I was in an Alfred Hitchcock movie, I'd be dead. I'm just saying, I'd been, they'd have had me because at that point, at about 1:30, I'm like, well, okay, I'm done with work. Someone to take the dogs out. And I have to walk them on a leash because we live out in the country and I don't have a fence up yet. So I have to walk them on a lead. So I get little man and I take him out, and the whole backyard, my entire backyard is full with nothing but blackbirds.
That
The
is
whole
so
thing.
bizarre.
So we walk down the steps and we walk towards the yard, and of course all the birds spook up and take off. There were so many of these birds that I could hear the wind dispersion under their wings build up like a jet engine and flock off. Flock off. But they
Oh,
flocked
Lord.
off into the back, further back into the yard. I look
Yeah.
over my driveway, my entire driveway from where my car was parked, and I have a pothole in my driveway that we haven't fixed yet, and it fills with water, of course, and it's rained here recently.
Uh-huh.
But my whole from the driveway where my car is until where the house starts was nothing but birds, and these birds were in this puddle taking baths. They would get done doing what they were doing and then take off and fly to the tree. And as they were flying to a tree, a second whatever gaggle of birds come down into the water. I sat out there for 5-10 minutes with each dog watching these birds all over my yard. It was freaky. Now,
Can you hear my cuckoo clock?
I hear your cuckoo
I'm
clock.
sorry. I forgot to stop the cuckooer from cuckooing. Oh boy. Damn. We so pro. I can't take it.
Right. I can't do it. So at 2 o'clock, I'm like, I need to get up. I'm going to take, no, it was 2:30 because Dee hit me up and said she was off to another one of her meetings. Dee, my wife.
Yeah.
I thought I'd let the listeners know. But I go and I look out the back door again because I was going to take a picture of all the birds.
Mhm.
Not one flipping bird in my yard at all.
Dude, you know
Nothing.
what? I swear to God, I'm on my Facebook page here trying to find this, and I probably will find this little video clip I uploaded after the show. But I was staying
Mhm.
at Robbie and Annie's last month and for a few days, and I swear to God, I went outside in the back, and it sounded like an Alfred Hitchcock movie. It was so loud I could hardly hear myself. And I looked up, and
Yeah.
the trees were just black with blackbirds. And it was bizarre. And I got my camera up and I recorded it for a minute because I wanted to post it on Facebook, which I did. I'm like, check this out, man. This is weird. The minute I stopped recording, they all stopped at the same time. They all stopped making noise. It was the freakiest shit I've ever heard in my life. I've heard the gaggles of the birds before. I figured, okay, they're gathering up the masses and they're getting ready to head south for the winter, right? I mean, that happens. But I've had like 3 or 4 people have told me the same story that you're telling me, and I myself witnessed it. But the only thing weird about it was, like I said, as soon as I stopped recording, this loud ass, Alfred Hitchcock movie of birds screeching and carrying on, all stopped. I mean, it's like somebody snapped a finger and they all stopped at exactly the same instant. And I was like, God damn it, why did I stop filming that? People are never going to believe me now. The minute I stopped filming it, they stopped. It was just unbelievable.
Well, see, the thing is, we have blackbirds. I don't know if they're robins or what, but they're just birds and they shit all over my car. But they're here all the time. You know what I mean?
We have some finches that stay over the winter and stuff.
No, I mean we have bird. It's where I live in Indiana now. It's warm enough that they really don't have to migrate. We don't get a whole lot of snow. We don't get a.
Yeah, you're right now. Sorry, my hips locked up.
No, you're good.
Old people.
I mean, I literally I could walk to the Ohio River.
Yeah, you're right there you're like, you could spit over the river to Kentucky.
Yeah, it takes me 12 minutes to get to Owensboro, Kentucky. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I'm far enough south that I'm not, the jet stream is really weird here because storms will go around us. Because we're right in the southern jet stream where it comes up from the Gulf up through Louisiana, Alabama. And it hits like the west side of Tennessee, and then it like 90s and goes straight to the East Coast. Whereas the northern jet stream, most of the time, is coming directly west to east, and they meet right on the other side of where I live. So I don't get a whole lot of the only thing that we really get here is ice. But it's warm enough. I mean, I think our coldest temperature last year got down to like 27 degrees.
Hell, that's shorts weather up here, son.
You know that.
All those dudes I worked at the factory with, they wore shorts year round.
Yeah.
It'd be 40 below zero, and these fools bopping up through the parking lot with shorts on.
I do the same thing. I had shorts on yesterday.
I asked you today when you got up.
Yeah.
I'm like, boy, you got shorts on. What's wrong with you? You don't. I know.
I don't have shorts on today. But I mean, it was just the most bizarre thing. Because like I said, we have birds here all the time. I have a family of cardinals that live here in the wintertime.
I love
cardinals. Out in the bush, right outside the back door where the rabbits live. I have cardinals and I have rabbits that live in that bush.
I have squirrels.
And they're there all the time. I've never seen a squirrel here at this house ever.
We put peanuts out on a plate. My husband, I don't know what I swear there's like 5 squirrels that come to our house and they fight over these peanuts, and they run and they bury them in my backyard. And then they run around trying to find where the other one buried theirs. And my dogs, of course, they go berserk when they're standing at the patio door and they see these squirrels. But the squirrels have figured out that the dogs can never catch them. So I'll let them out to go potty. And immediately Missy takes off after the squirrels, screaming at the top of her lungs. They all run up to the fence and jump up on the fence. And then they look down at the dogs like, you can't get me.
Right, yeah.
Sitting there eating their peanuts, watching the show. You know, the dogs are freaking out. But they bury them in my yard. And I've seen them get peanuts from the plate and then take them over to my neighbor's yard. And they bury them. They make these little holes and they bury these nuts. It is hysterical. My dad used to have a squirrel that he fed. He made it half a peanut butter sandwich and an Oreo cookie every day. He called him Merle the squirrel. And I kid you not, this squirrel would come up to the back door, climb up on the back door, and knock on the glass of the storm door every morning for my dad.
Yeah.
For his half a peanut butter sandwich and Oreo cookie.
Yeah. My old man, I was probably, I had to be 10 or 11, maybe 12 tops. Somebody had shot this squirrel with a BB gun, and he was laying on his back right leg.
Oh.
But him and my dad ended up being buddies. And the squirrel, when he'd see my old man come home, the squirrel would run up to the driveway and sit there and wait on him, because he would go out on the driveway in the chair and have Oreo cookies and probably a beer. I'm not sure.
Well, your dad probably had a beer.
Yeah.
I don't know about the squirrel.
Right. I wouldn't doubt if he had a little sip too. But that squirrel and he were so close that the squirrel would come up and take the Oreo out of his hand.
Daddy would open up the back door, and Merle would literally take the cookies and the sandwich out of my dad's hand and then walk away. He didn't even run. He'd be like, "Thanks, dude." Okay, now that's bizarre that both our dads had a squirrel friend.
But that little motherfucker, sorry.
You're fired.
That little squirrel wouldn't run away. You know what he did? He would sit there and wait for another Oreo.
Yeah, Merle would knock on the door whenever if he'd see Dad in the window, he'd go climb up and knock on the window. Yeah, they're funny and smart, and it's weird. Animals are attracted to my people.
But mine too. Babies
Squirrels
and animals.
I always said, people say, "What's your spirit animal?" And I say wolf, / dog, because I'm a dog person, but maybe it's squirrel. I don't know. Squirrel. Wonder what kind of spirit animal a squirrel would be.
We need to find somebody. And I'm sorry, I'm eating fruit slices. I know that's very professional, and I apologize to everyone, but still, they're good.
They're watching us. They know. See, that's what I'm saying.
So, first off, it is very weird that your dad and my dad did the same shit with squirrels.
It's weird. It is weird. It's weird. I swear we're siblings from another timeline or something. We have to be.
And then second, I don't know. I was going to say something else.
Welcome to your 50s. You know what? This is what I love about our show. People kind of know me a little bit because of Bud and Intruders and stuff like that. But, and people kind of know you in the paranormal world. You had some pretty good big hitter guests on your show before I came around. Sorry about that. But it makes us, people realize that I'm just a regular person. You're just a regular person. And we goof around and do stuff. We're just regular people. Now it makes people feel closer to us. You know what I mean?
We're authentic.
Like we're all hanging out. You know how much fun it would be to everybody get together and get a big bonfire going and have some drum circle. I'll play my flute and my Native American 5-hole flute, and have drinks and hot chocolate or whatever. Just
definitely
hang out. Or you know what? I always used to say, I wish somebody would have done a book about a movie about intruders, about my real family.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And not that hodgepodge of Hollywood shit that they put out.
That bullshit they put on there. Yeah.
But actually of our real family, because I'm telling you, my family was crazy. And in a good way. They were the funniest bunch of people. It was ridiculous. On our Friday night poker nights, I swear to God, I would probably piss myself every Friday night at one point or another, laughing at one of these fools. We had so much fun. And
Yeah.
everybody in my family had such a good sense of humor, and we were funny. I always said my family was funny as hell. Just our poker nights alone would be 10 seasons of material that they could
Yeah.
use.
Yeah.
Things happened during our poker night that I can't even mention. Because one of my family members will probably kill me, but just it. My whole family is hysterical. I swear to God.
Yeah.
I wish people
I
could know us. I wish people could get to know us all. Like,
right.
some of us aren't here anymore, sadly, but
Right.
I always had hoped that. I always had hoped and wished that people would get to really know us, and then they would understand the magnitude of the shit that happened to me and how much we didn't want it to happen,
Mhm.
you know?
You say we need to get together and have like a big bonfire get together thing.
Yes.
We can do that here because I've got probably a 16-foot wide by 10-foot wide fire pit in the backyard.
Oh my God. That's the one thing I miss about living out in the country like I did. We had those big bonfires and I had my teepee, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
We
And
had a big ceremony to put it up, and then the tornado unceremoniously took it down.
check it down. Yeah. See, I don't have any lights here either. So it's perfect sky gazing.
Yeah, I can't do that here, and
Mhm.
if I try to put something in my little chimney or whatever they call that,
Yeah.
and then the fire department comes over and says, "Are you
Cut it
burning
out.
something?"
You can't be burning that here.
It's a fireplace I bought at Lowe's. I'm
Right.
sitting
Yeah.
here, so
Shut
yeah, I
up and get
really
out of
miss
my
that.
yard.
I used to fall asleep
Mhm.
outside when we lived out in the country before we moved here, and we had the old big farmhouse, and that's where I had the teepee and the big
Mhm.
fire pit and everything. Sometimes if it was decent weather out, I would drag my lawn chair over to the fire pit, set something on fire, and lay down with my lawn chair flat so that I was looking up the sky, cover
Yeah.
myself up with a blanket, and the crickets and the frogs and all the night sounds would literally lull me to sleep it was like a natural lullaby.
Yeah.
Everybody I know is like, I hate crickets. That awful sound gets on my nerve. Blah, blah, blah. No, to me, that sound is like nature's lullaby. And when I hear it, I go into a whole different brainwave state, for real. And I would
Mhm.
lay out there and look at the sky and literally fall asleep, wake up to the sun coming up and birds singing. And I
Yeah.
would sleep outside all by myself at night. Now, what kind of
Mhm.
abductee does that shit? I mean, and that's not, I didn't do that, in the 80s. There's no way on the
Right.
planet I would
Right.
have
Yeah.
done that in
Yeah.
the 80s. We're talking about the 2010s.
Yeah.
At that point, I was completely comfortable outside alone. Whatever happened, bring it. I didn't care. I would fall asleep in the lawn chair out by the fire pit and be out there all night. And my
Yeah.
husband would just leave me like, she good.
Right. I get the whole bed to myself. I'm out.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Right.
That
Yeah.
was it.
So I remember what I was going to say.
Okay,
We need to
good.
find somebody
Hmm.
that will come on the show and do like a spirit animal reading, if that's what they call it, and find out what our spirit animals are.
I had somebody do that to me one time and they told me mine was a hummingbird.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah. I could probably.
But I cannot remember who it was. Otherwise, I would tell them to come on the show. It was somebody who actually does stuff like that. They gave me
Yeah.
the card, a hummingbird card too.
Really.
That's how I remembered. Yeah.
Mine would be like a fucking skunk or something.
I can't remember. I think that she said the hummingbird. Now, I have no clue what I'm saying, so I could be way wrong. Forgive me for all those out there listening who actually know. I think she said that it had something to do with spirituality and the higher level of spirituality, the hummingbird. And I
A
had
higher
had a
frequency.
yeah, and I had one of those lucid dreams about a hummingbird one time. I think
Mhm.
I wrote about it in the book, but it was really kind of cool.
Mhm.
It was a lucid dream at the end of a dream cycle, a sleep cycle. And in the dream, I was sitting out in the yard, the kids were playing, and I had a wiffle ball bat. You know that little wiffle ball and bat the kids get? My kids were playing with one. I was sitting in a lawn chair, and this thing started flying around my head, and I thought it was a bee, and I'm scared of bees because I'm allergic to them. And I
Right.
picked up this wiffle ball bat, and I swatted at it, and I hit it. And when it landed on the ground, I realized it was a hummingbird, little tiny hummingbird, and I was devastated. I was devastated. Oh my God. It broke my heart. And I started crying, and I jumped down and I grabbed it. I had cradled it in my arms, and I was blowing on it and talking to it and telling it, please don't die. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I did that to you. I didn't mean to hurt you. You know, I mean, it was awful.
Yeah.
And the little hummingbird kind of woke up, and it was okay, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and this is where the dream gets weird. I had this hummingbird for like months. You know, I nursed it back to health. I fed it sugar water with an eyedropper. It would fly around my head. It was like my best friend. And then one day it went away. It was
Mm-hmm.
time for it to go home, and it left. And then whenever, you know, I held it in my hands and it flew away. And then I heard this voice say, did you understand this dream? And then I'm like, what? Wait, yes, I did. And they said, well, what did you learn from it? And I said, don't strike out at something because it might not be what you think it is, you know? So don't just lash out without thinking and
Right.
really knowing and seeing first. And I said that. And the voice said, very good. And then I woke up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the kind of lucid dreams I have now. And this was years ago. Before, this was a long time ago. This is when the lucid dreaming, this is when the physical contact started to drop off and the psychological stuff started to ramp up.
Yeah.
That's when I had that. That's
That's
pretty
bizarre.
powerful.
That
Really.
is. That is really.
So
So
and that's why she told me that hummingbird was my spirit animal.
it
This
was,
was
yeah.
years later. And I'm like, oh yeah, I get that. That makes sense
Yeah.
to me. So
Yeah. Well, if any of our listeners know anybody that does spirit animal readings, whatever it is, whatever it's called, reach out to us at you can hit Deb up at debcobble@gmail.com, or you hit me up at well, you can hit me up at hosts at mprhosts.com or gcable at midwestparatalkradio.com. What are you doing?
I don't know. I was thinking, and he'll be appearing at Walmart.
Tip your bartenders and
Tip your
waitresses.
waiters.
I'll
and
be here all
bartenders.
night.
I know
Yeah.
that's what I was
What the
thinking.
hell?
I'm
What are
so
you
sorry.
doing?
Oh, look. Now I look like Alfalfa from our
You know, he
gang.
had a terrible life.
He did. God love him.
He did. He had a terrible life. He lost his stuff right at like when he grew up. He was like,
Do you ever? I always wonder what happened to those. Like I used to watch Mom Paul Kettle movies all the time on Saturday afternoon.
oh yeah, me too.
The lady that played Ma Kettle, was actually a Hoosier who was born here in Indiana, not too far away from where I live now. Yeah.
There is an actor that I just found out is from it wasn't Indianapolis, but it was someplace around Indianapolis.
Red Skelton was from Indiana.
Yeah.
The Brady Bunch's mom, Florence Henderson, was from Indiana.
Right. I don't know. I'll think about it and I'll say it on the next show, but
yeah.
I'm old. I forget shit. So, let's see what else. We will not be here next Thursday night, guys. We're taking it off for Christmas week. We'll be back on the 4th. We have a guest for the 4th.
Yes, we have
11th. And then the 12th, 18th, 19th.
We need a booking manager
if anybody's interested in being a booking manager or a media manager, please hit us up at gcable at midwestparatalkradio.com, please. Let me reiterate, pretty please.
Dan Harare is going to be our guest on the 4th. He's an author. I mean, he has a whole bunch of stuff. I'll put it in his bio whenever I make the thing. But he's a very cool guy. I met him in San Francisco this last March, and I had the opportunity to read his book that he wrote that we'll talk about. And he's great. His writing is phenomenal. It's exciting. It's kind of spicy sometimes,
Right.
and he's doing a lot of really good things in Hollywood right now for
Okay.
UFO, UAP, in Hollywood disclosure. So we're going to talk about that too. It's going to be a great show.
How much was Close Encounters of the Third Kind? How much of that you think is true?
A lot of it, I think. J. Allen Hynek was the consultant on that movie, and
Mhm.
a lot of the little tidbits, like the way the aliens looked, and the way Roy acted, and things like that, come from actual cases. It's a conglomerate of different people. It's not one particular person, but all
Right.
those little factoids, all those little things were things that real people actually did. A lot
Yeah.
of them were,
Well, see,
anyway.
when I first saw the movie, I didn't think anything of it. I was just like, okay, this is pretty cool. Okay. Okay. Oh, look,
And I was
aliens.
poking
Okay.
my dad in the shoulder. My dad took us to see it on Christmas Eve, the year that
Mhm.
it came out. I think it was 77 when it came out, I believe. And we went to the movies on Christmas Eve to see it. And I remember sitting next to my dad, poking. One of the rare times my dad actually took us into movie theater, because it was always a drive-in. So he could
Right.
drink beer
Right.
and
Yeah. Yeah. You know,
let
be a Hoosier.
my mom would drive home. My dad would have a beer, mom would drink coffee out of the thermos, us kids would be out in the playground watching the movie. And so it was rare to get him inside in a movie theater.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we went in to see that. He was a big fan of cowboy movies and Planet of the Apes movies, but I remember poking him in the shoulder, going, "Look at that, look at that, look at that." And he's like, "God damn it, stop poking me and watch the movie." I thought he was going to slap me in the head.
Right.
But I
Right.
kept saying, "Look at them, look at them." That, yes, look, look. I mean, I was just freaking out over this movie.
Right.
And my old man was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Shut up."
Will you stop?
Yeah.
See, and
My old man didn't mince words either.
right.
He
Yeah.
was a lot like the guy on the Christmas Story. That dad,
Mm,
you know how he used to cuss out the furnace? Well,
yeah.
that was my old man.
Yeah.
That was my old man to a T.
That's funny. Yeah. The older I got and the more in touch with this side of the phenomenon, it made me think is like, and that's kind of what I thought is like, because there's so many different people and different aspects of that show that it had to be like each chapter was a different character and their experiences and how it would play out simultaneously.
Like, that Roy moment when he's like eating the mashed potatoes and kind of
Yeah.
suddenly he sees something in him and he starts kind of going weird. I've had weird Roy moments like that. And I know a
Really.
lot of experiencers who've had that. Yeah, something that you experience or see in conscious life will trigger a memory in the subconscious.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had that happen to me. I've know a lot of experiencers who've had that happen
Mm.
to me. So that was something that stood out to me as authentic, that
Yeah.
people act that. No, because they don't like drag the neighbor's pine trees through their kitchen windows. I've never heard of that. That's a little over the top. But Hollywood
Right. Yeah.
always got to make shit,
Yeah. That's how they
crazy.
do. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the concept is for real. People do that. They have
Mm.
these little moments where something will trigger a memory, and you'd be like, "Oh shit." The episode, the incident, or the episode where the people are standing around outside in the road at night and sitting on their
Yeah.
cars waiting because they know these things are going to come because they've seen them before.
Right.
Well, hello, have you been to a sky watch? That's all these people do. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there are a lot of authentic moments in that movie that are just kind of woven together in this magnificent way that Steven Spielberg has of telling the story.
Yeah.
And the fact that J. Allen Hynek was a consultant says a lot too.
Yeah.
I would love to see Steven Spielberg do more things about UFO things, with the experiencers
Yeah.
and be authentic,
And
and
not
make
have the
and
hype.
no, and have real people, or at least actors that act like real people,
Yeah.
and do goofy shit, like we all do and stuff, so that it's more relatable to everybody. I'm telling you, people that don't know this part of me, I mean, we're still friends and fun. And then when they find out, I go, oh, wow, that's crazy. But that's cool because, I think you're a cool person and you're normal.
Right.
People worked next to me for 10 years in the factory and they find out about it and they're like, well, damn, why didn't you tell me? And I'm like, well, hello.
Something you generally don't talk about. But I mean,
but so, I mean, we're everywhere. We're your next door neighbor. We're the waitress that took your order. We're the kid who sacks your groceries. We're the guy who fixes your furnace or your car. We're everywhere. For everyone like me out there that's speaking publicly, I will bet my last dime there's 25,000 and more of us that are sitting there with maybe even more extraordinary, crazy stories than I have, that ain't going to tell you nobody nothing, because it's crazy,
well,
I think people, and I'm not brave. I just got pushed out there, kind of. I ended up taking one for the team as far as the family goes, because when we agreed to, it was a team, it was a family thing to agree for Bud to write the book. It wasn't up to just me. And it was a family agreement that we would be public about it. It wasn't just me. I took one for the team. My sister was supposed to come along with me. She went once and then she was like, I don't like this shit. No thanks. So I got stuck doing it. So I wouldn't call me brave. I would call me, actually a puss, because I let them push me. I let my family push me into doing
it. You got, all right, go on now.
I got volunteered by other people.
Uh-huh.
Well, thank you, Maggie. Maggie says I'm very brave in her opinion. That's very sweet. I love you, girl. She's a nice lady. We should have her come on sometime.
We could do that.
I don't think she probably won't do that.
She's like, and I've watched your shows.
No, I'll just listen. No, you guys are kind of weird. So
Well, the first time I met you, though, I mean, I think we had the conversation like right off the bat. And I don't remember if you brought it up or I was like, hey.
Well, I think we met through MRIPA, so it's like I felt like I had to be up front. When I met Rachel and Jason, you had to interview to get into MRIPA, right? So they came up to my house. They came to my house on a stormy night, drove all the way up to Kokomo. I invited them in. We talked. I told them straight up about my book, about, my life and all the shit that happened to me. And Jason's like, I knew there was a reason I liked you.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, we got along good for a long time. Things happen, and life moves on. Things change in life, but it was a great experience being with MRIPA. I learned a lot with them. I enjoyed their being, Mama Deb, taking care of everybody, bringing the coffee and donuts and the first aid kit, and yelling at people when they ran in the opposite direction when shit started happening,
Right.
But I mean, I learned a lot from there. So I'll always be thankful for that and wish everybody well. But that's how you and I met, and we stuck.
Right.
Kind of like shit on the wall.
Right. Shit on a shingle. That's Deb and me.
Yep.
We met at the Hannah house.
I'm the shingle.
I'll give you that because you're older.
Thanks.
No, we met at the Hannah house at that meet and greet for the first time. And I think that's one of the first conversations that we had.
Yeah, I try to be upfront with people that I'm planning on hanging out with. Like the people at work, I didn't plan on hanging out with them. I'm like, you don't need to know. Right. Although I did have an MRIPA, I had an MRIPA sticker on the back of my car. the green MRIPA with the ghost hunting stuff on it. And when people began to realize that was my car, they'd see me get out and come to the park. Oh, you're that ghost hunting lady. And I'm like, yes, sir, I am. Got a ghost? They did.
Me? No, that's not me.
I'd be like, yeah, I am. Why? You got a ghost you need hunted? You need an exorcism? I'm your girl. No, I'm not. I won't do that shit. But yeah, and they kind of laughed at me. They kind of chuckled and stuff. But because I owned it, they're like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. And they might have walked away and go, that girl weird as shit. But they never bothered me anymore, and they didn't talk to me.
Right.
I mean, if they talked to me, they just talked to me about work stuff. They weren't rude or anything. If I'd have tried to hide it, and I feel like if you try to hide shit like that, that's when people get their noses turned up. When I wrote the book with my sister, and then when I wrote my other book, when I wrote Extraordinary Contact years and years later, I used my real name, even though in Bud's book, I was Kathy Davis, because I felt like when if I'm going to tell my story in my words, first person, I got to own that. And I'm not going to do it behind a pseudonym, because if I can't even tell you my story and own it myself, how do I expect you to pay me any attention? You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
So there's people out there on podcasts and debunkers and whatever. They don't use their real name. I don't take them seriously because they won't own whatever they're doing and saying, look, I've got the craziest shit in my life going on out here, and I'm owning it.
Yeah. You're 100% right about that, though. For the podcasters and whatnot who use
debunkers and podcasters and that use pseudonyms.
Yeah. Because I'm going to tell you, I used to do this when I first started doing radio too. I would agree 100% with the guest. I would, oh yeah, totally. I know, I totally understand that. See, when I would do blah, 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 and mingle my story with theirs because they were the guest, until I realized, and it wasn't years later, that, I mean, I still say G Monkey and G Monk or whatever, but you see my name on the screen as Greg, and it wasn't until years later where it was like, you don't have to do that. You can be genuine. You can shoot from the hip and be serious. I mean, I told a guy on a show at one point that he was stupid, that I didn't believe a word that he was saying, and the interview was over. You know what I mean? And and don't get me wrong, I'm not generally like that, everyone. It's just when you've got so much bullshit that you're trying to spew out and you can actually see it, I got to call you on it. What is that beeping?
That's my my little mini fridge.
That's funny,
I think. But anyway, it just kicked on. It doesn't sound like a beep to me. It just sounds like a fridge kicking on. But yeah, I understand that what some things I say are controversial, and then people don't believe everything that I tell them, and I don't really care. I'm telling you what I know. If you don't believe me, that's your prerogative. I mean, there's a lot of weird shit that I've heard that I have problems with. I have a hard time believing, but after 65 years of seeing some crazy shit, anything is possible. I'm not here to judge anybody. So, but yeah, that just irritates me. I'll probably piss some people off. I don't really care. But if you're going, whatever you're going to put out there in the universe, own it. Yeah. Own it. Have some fucking balls and own it. Otherwise, don't expect people to take you seriously or put a lot of weight or credence into what you're saying unless you're going to own it. Right. Because look, I love my friend Peter Robbins. I love him dearly. I've known him almost 40 years. I met him with Bud, and Peter's a brilliant man. He's a brilliant speaker. He's very eloquent. He's intelligent. He's a great writer. He's written all kinds of stuff. He's a great speaker, and he wrote a book with Larry Warren, and he supported Larry and was friends with him for years and years. And then it came to his attention that there were a lot of incorrect things that had been
Yeah.
told to him. He basically got taken by, he he trusted him when he shouldn't have.
He got conned. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, and these things were proven to be inaccurate, and Larry was proven to not be what he said he was. And Peter was a stand-up man, and he addressed it, and he apologized to the people that have supported him. And I mean, it takes a real man, a strong and intelligent and brave man to do that.
Yeah.
And he disconnected himself from Larry, and then he contacted the publishing company and had the publishers stop publishing Left at Eastgate. That was the book he wrote with him, because it contained inaccurate things, and Peter he didn't like that. He didn't want that out there with his name on it. It was inaccurate.
Right.
And so they stopped publishing it. I mean, to me, that's admirable. I look up to him even more. I admire him even more that he did that.
Right.
I can tell you there's a lot of people out there in this ufology that if they found themselves in his shoes would not be so graceful and forthright and elegant and honest. And I think it speaks volumes for the kind of man that he is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the kind of person I want to be.
Yeah.
I strive to be like, okay, I look up to him. He's a few years older than me. Him and his sister Helen were like my big brother and sister. They took me under their wing and were protective of me from the get-go. But there's not that many people like that out there anymore.
No.
I'm trying to be that way. I tell people my story the best I remember. If you'll notice when I'm actually talking about June 30, 83, it almost sounds like I'm, reading it out of my brain because I've told it so many times. But it's, and I've tried, and sometimes I have to like edit it down and take out some things just because of time. And then I feel bad because I feel like I'm not telling the whole story again. It's so hard for me. My little brain, it really, really kicks back on that, but I have to for time. And then I feel like I'm not telling the whole story, and then I feel bad,
Right.
But it's like,
but see, that's the one thing that I can say is, I mean, we're going on some time knowing each other now, and never once did I doubt anything that Deb said. Not once. Her conviction and the way that she speaks about her experiences, the genuine genuity, is that not even, I don't know, but you know what I mean.
I don't think that's a word, dude. But
yeah, I'm making it a word tonight, but her conviction on how she describes her experience, and it doesn't waver. And when I tell people about Deb, and this is what I told Bips, I'm like, look, I told him who you were. I told him, you're an experiencer. And of course, I only, cliff note the experiences, and eventually told them anyway, in the entirety. But, and that's one of the things that I make sure that I say is that, I've known her for a long time, and the story is the same from the beginning to the end. When she says what's happened to her and her experience, and if it wasn't true, the story would be different every time. You know what I'm saying?
And I appreciate that. Yes, it means a lot to me that you feel that way about me. I appreciate it. It's been a long time. Jesus Christ, it's been 40 years since that happened. And I've changed, and my opinions have changed, because some of my story, I mean, facts is facts, and they don't change. But I've changed, and my theories on things may have changed over the years as I've grown and changed, because that's what human beings do as they live through this life, and learn. and I've learned things about myself and about stuff around me. So, and I heard somebody say one time, well, I heard her say one time that Bud Hopkins, that she didn't have any memories until she was hypnotized by Bud Hopkins. And so now I can't believe anything that she says because I think Bud Hopkins implanted her. No, that didn't happen. Matter of fact, I might be in the process of actually finding my hypnosis regression tapes that I thought were destroyed.
Wow.
Peter, thank God, thank you to Philip Mantle for turning me on to someone who possibly has the stuff that Bud had on me, including my hypnosis tapes, which I thought were destroyed. We'll find out, fingers crossed. But I've always said that I've considered a lot of the stuff I remember dreams, and I remember most everything naturally. And people don't realize how very little hypnosis I have actually had, because I lived in Indiana and Bud lived in New York City, and this was 1983, and neither one of us was rich, and we couldn't fly back and forth, and you didn't do that shit over the telephone, and we didn't have the internet. So the opportunities that I had for actual hypnosis were very small compared to now. And I remembered my theory, my take on my own hypnosis, which I can only speak from my own experiences, is it's like I remembered the car and I remembered the color of the car, but under hypnosis, I remembered the license plate on the back of the car. I mean, it only sharpened my memory, but not a lot of stuff came completely out of it. There was already a great deal of dreams, which I called dreams, which I had to live with them, and I was not comfortable calling them memories. So I called them dreams because they were crazy to me and they didn't make sense. They didn't fit my world, But as I have gotten older, I've come to peace with it in myself. And I know the things that I call dreams may possibly not all be dreams. Right. But they didn't have anything to do with me being hypnotized. This was shit that I was already having dreams about and stuff before that. So, that's not to say that I don't think that things like that are possible. I think that hypnosis is something that can be a useful tool, but I think it's important who it's done by and who's doing it, be educated in it. And there's not a lot of regulation for that in some states. There's none in this state,
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I think it'd be harmful to people if it's done by the wrong person in the wrong way. And I think that some people should not be hypnotized. Yeah. And I think that it should be left up to a therapist. Now, in Bud's case, he wasn't a therapist. He was an artist, but he had Dr. Aphrodite Clamar working with him.
Yeah.
She was the first person that ever hypnotized me, and she's a psychiatrist in New York. So, people seem to want to hear whatever they want to hear, and they don't act, and it's not always factual. Their memories aren't always correct, or they misunderstood something I said, because God only knows I am not that good with words. I've always said, I wish I could get in people's heads and just make them see and feel and know it would be so much easier. Words are a pain in the ass and they are inadequate most of the time, and I'm not a master with words. I barely speak. I'm trying to teach myself Spanish right now. My husband and I are taking Spanish lessons. Yeah. And my granddaughter wants me to learn Korean because she wants me to live with her in Korea when she graduates from high school. And good luck with that. But I'm going to try. But, I barely speak English. Shit.
You could totally learn Korean.
I'm going to try. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to do it for my granddaughter.
Gamsamnida. Thank you very much is Korean. Anyang is see you later.
How do you know all this stuff, sir?
I've watched this is going to be funny, you're going to laugh at me. I watch a couple of guys on YouTube. They're called Josh and Ollie. They're British. Um, but Josh is or went to school in Korea, and basically he married a Korean woman from there. But they do it's a foodie channel,
Okay.
and they took like British um boys from high school that just graduated high school
Hmm.
to Korea for like a month and showed them the different cuisines and the culture and whatnot. And
I love Korean food, and we're getting a K-pop. Uh, is that K-pop? I don't know. We're getting a
music.
Korean. We're getting a Korean hot pot restaurant here in Kokomo, and I cannot
Oh, are
wait.
you really?
Yes, K
I'll come up.
Town. I think it's called K Town or something like that.
I'll come
Uh,
up. We'll go.
oh hell yeah! B wants to know if I've ever drawn or painted what I've experienced. Yes, I have. I have made drawings, and not so much paint. I used cutout cardboard, made collages, and then I used charcoal and pencil. And Bud had all of the originals, most all the originals, and I again thought they were lost. You know, I mean, and now I'm finding out that there's a possibility I may be able to get them back, and I'm so happy about that. Even if I don't want to do anything with them other than have them for my family, mostly my granddaughter,
Mhm.
because it's a part of history. It's a part of history, and I want her to have that because this is where she comes. This is who she comes from, and maybe it'll mean something to her in the future. So I'm
Has
very excited to get that. I thought it was lost forever.
has she had experiences?
Yeah, I don't know. We haven't talked about it. I honor her parents' wishes. Um, oh, and I will say I've been able to draw things very well, and I'm not particularly artistic, but when it came to this stuff, I could draw it pretty good. Beyond this stuff is like stick people, you know. But and follow up: is there another experiencer whose experiences most closely match yours? Um, I've met several people in my life whom I connected with instantly. It's weird. It's like you can see it in their eyes when I meet people. I've met thousands of people over the years at the conferences and stuff, but there's certain people when you shake hands and you look into their eyes, bam, it's like it's there. You see it and you connect with it, and it's like another link in that neuron. Um, yeah, there's been a few people that I've met in my life whose experiences were very much like mine. I'm not going to name any names for their privacy, but I can think of three or four offhand right now that
Yeah.
I've known. And the funny thing is, I met these people 20 years ago or longer, and we are still friends, and we still connect, and we still communicate with each other. You know, thank God. That's one of the things I love about the internet. Live your life without it and see how lonely it is,
Yeah.
but to be connected with it, people now. But yes, there are, I have met several people that, there's a couple people, I swear to God, we went with the same things and we're at the same places at the same time. That's
Mhm.
how intense a couple of them are.
Wow.
So, yeah, that happens. Holy shit, what a long show.
I know you won't shut up.
Oh,
Damn.
damn, I know it. I'm terrible.
No, 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 no. Though, when it's just us, we end up going. Well, I mean, honestly, let's call it like it is. The last 3 or 4 shows have been about this long. We just get talking and we just don't shut up. That's just how it is.
And it's funny because before the shows, before the internet, before emails, before, any of this ability to connect with other people all around the world, I could go literally years without ever talking about it. If there wasn't anything particularly
Mm-hmm.
weird going on, a lot of the little stuff I would just write down and chalk up to whatever and move on, because life happens and you have to be there,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're a mom. Um,
Right.
so
Yeah.
they could literally go years without talking about this to anyone, and feeling very like like stranded on a desert island somehow. Uh, and go when I did have the opportunity to go to a conference, and I didn't have a lot of money. I still don't have a lot of money, but I would get offered to go and speak at a conference, or Bud wanted me to come with him, and he would manage to get someone to help me pay for my way to get there and whatnot. And I would have the opportunity to go, and then I would network and I would meet with so many people afterwards and spend time connecting with people like me. And I would come home afterwards and I would feel so energized and so
Mm-hmm.
recharged that it would last for a couple weeks. And
Yeah.
then I would start to feel like the day after Christmas would come, and I would start to feel
Blue.
sad and lonely. I mean, I'm a married woman with kids and all, but I would walk around in this life feeling so lonely and alone. Like,
Yeah.
I don't quite fit here. I don't know why,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So, but I'm figuring that out. And y'all stuck
Well,
with me now, folks.
oh, don't threaten them with a good time.
Shut up.
No, it's and you're right. I have the same thing with the paranormal. Um, After meetings, after investigations, um, like the last investigation we went on at that bar, I had the majority of my audio done that I had recorded myself. I had it done within, I don't know, 36 hours after the investigation. And I had 16 different audio files to go through, you know. um
You and me are just as alike. We can't wait to get home so we can start going through the shit and looking for stuff. I know other
right.
people in paranormal groups, they get their audio files and their video files that have to be reviewed, and then it sits on their computer for a month and they don't even touch it. And I'm like, what is
Right.
wrong with
Yeah.
you? I can't wait to
Yeah.
get home, start looking through this stuff, man. I'm digging
Right.
through it. I'm finding some good stuff. It's like, why you do this if that's where you're going to be? That don't make no
Right.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. So, all right. Well, check this out. We're going on 2 hours almost here on Midwest Fair Talk Radio. I think we're gonna out of beer, out of here, and head off. Remember, next Thursday night, we're not going to be around. We're going to take the week off for the holiday break. We'll be back January 4th. Don't forget, you can go out to Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast. I'm missing a couple, podomatic.com, and listen to the pod there. You can also go over to YouTube and catch all of our past episodes at Midwest Paratalk Radio on YouTube. You can also go check us out on Rumble. Look for Midwest Paratalk Radio there. And I would say go there instead of YouTube, because you'll help the cause in getting us monetized on Rumble if you go over there and check us out. And
Come and see
what?
me. You can come to my website, www.debshome.com. If you want to email me personally and share your experiences with me, you just want a sympathetic ear to listen to. I don't have a lot of answers, but I am here. I'm as close as an email if you need me, and there's information on there that you might find helpful, and some more stuff and pictures and drawings and all that kind of good stuff. That's www.debshome.com. Been around. That's an old website. It still works.
And amazing how that internet thing
Yeah,
works.
it ain't fancy, but it does the job.
Also, you get links to Deb's books on her website. You can also go over to MidwestParatalkRadio.com on the shop page. You can pick up merch there, and you can also direct link click on Deb's book to pick up Deb's book there. And
don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell, and Hang
and
out
all
with
that
us.
business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Generally over Thursday night, you guys that have listened to us and watch us, you know how we kind of roll, and we're kind of silly and we have a good time doing what we're doing. We do have some really terrific shows coming your way in the upcoming year. And I think that, next year we'll get everything worked out with the technology and and not have boo-boos and stuff like we are now, since we're just kind of getting back into the swing of things. If anyone is interested in being a media manager, and go ahead and shoot me an email, Greg. What was it? Greg Cable at MidwestParatalkRadio.com. So we're looking for. Ain't gonna pay you anything, but I'll send you a case of Coke or something that's drinkable. Let's not get confused here.
Right. Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola. So, all right, you guys, I hope everyone has a great, safe Christmas and New Year's.
Yep. Merry
And
Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody, and Happy Hanukkah and Happy Kwanzaa and happy all the holidays. God love us all. Did you freeze? So shut up. I'm just trying to be all inclusive.
Hey, I ain't mad at you. You got to. So.
Coexisting.
All right, you guys, we're out of here. We'll see you guys on the 4th of January. See ya then. Bye.
Okay. Bye.